Hello and welcome. I am Dogbert, and today we need to talk about the new Greek grade difficulties and, well, how they're going to pretty much fuck you over, especially if you're not a spender. And if you're trying to push to be higher in the raid season than your alliance, this could actually end up making some people have to leave some alliances, depending on what the alliances push and what those people want to do with their own rosters. So it mostly comes down to the Gamma raid here. That of course just launched. That's the one that's really going to fuck us over. Beta raid. If you want to do beta raid 4.5, it's essentially just like doing Doom 3.5 in that you're just using Mystic Tech, Scale, Bio. You're going to have those teams pretty well built up to Gear 16 anyway. Now, doing the other two raids with the Gear 14 requirement probably isn't that big of a deal in reality. Now, some people probably don't have all their characters built up to Gear 14 because you were able to do, like, say, the Gamma raid without everybody at Gear 14, but you're probably going to have those characters pretty close. The real problem comes with the difficulty 5 requiring Gear 16, because that is a significant more investment. I'll use my Zorbaman here as an example. Already already 75. If I wanted to take him up to 85 alone, well, not only are we looking at a bunch of training mats, obviously, some people have problems with that. We're talking 4.4 million gold just to level him. This does not include the gear cost that I'll have to also intake. Now, orange gear by itself is not a big deal. Now, the teal gear could be a big deal for you, depending on what you've been doing for raids and how you've been doing. More casual alliances are definitely going to be hit harder by this. Free to play, of course, being hit harder again. If you are fortunate enough where you were able to buy that $20 pack, man, is that really coming in handy for you if you need to upgrade these characters. So, why is this also continue to be bad? Well, because you got people building for Apocalypse. As you can see here, I have my horsemen I have them marked. I'm working on them. I'm trying to get them to Gear 17 now. I have them all at Gear 16. For instance, my Unlimited's all tier ISO Blue 4. Gear 16, I need to get them to 90, get them to Gear 17 so I can do the third Rogue Saga, get some more ions, go get me some more Blue ISO 4, and etc., etc. That's been my plan. That's what I've been working on. But now because they've dropped this raid, now I have to go and reconsider. Do I want to go and build up anything? Plus, we have to think about what are we going to be recommending for newer players as they come up. What are they going to be using in the alpha and the gamma raid? The reason why I said the alpha raid is you got to remember that's city, cosmic, and global. Well, global's pretty easy. Just use horseman teams. There's plenty of them. Plus, you have the secret event. There's plenty of teams. I mean, alone the Death Seed alone can do it. We have Bionic Avengers, which is your tech team. That's all global. Rebirth, all global. Plenty of teams. But what do you tell them for city? Do you tell people to level web warriors for city? How do you even gear 16 on my web warriors? He's still Gear 15. My Miles is still Gear 15. Am I really just going to level them? Now, I do have some splash value with Gamma because the Spider-Verse tag on them, I could probably get away without that. So, the question is then, who do you recommend to build for City? Are we going to be forced to build Cloak and Dagger if we never really use them in the Mystic Raids? They are technically part of the Mystic Raid team, and together they are quite good. Are Young Avengers an option? Do we want to build the Young Avengers to Gear 16? Symbiotes, I doubt it. I don't think we really want to piece together anything out of these characters. There's just not a really whole lot of good options here to take to Gear 16. Now, people who are already built their Web Warriors to Gear 16, congratulations, you'll have an easier time. But what about the people who never did, who never needed to? What about the people that are coming up? It's going to be a real problem. Now, Cosmic's a pretty easy one, though. Cosmic, we won't probably have any problems because when we look at that, you get the Eternals, you got Hela, you got Deathpool, you got Kestrel. Just the Eternals, Deathpool, and Kestrel alone would probably be enough to take out those nodes and then pick whoever the hell you want. There's really not too many cosmics, other than maybe Doctor Strange Heartless, if somebody newer was coming up and wanted to get Apocalypse. And who knows? So that's not a big deal. Now, the problem, of course, then comes back to the Gamma Raid. Let's look at the biggest one of all, and that's the Kree Pimtech. Is anybody going to really want to put resources into Pimtech? Here's my Pimtech. Aside from Ghost, she'd be the only one that could possibly get up to Gear 16, but even that would require more investment in a character I really don't want to put investment into, nor do I have time and resources to put that kind of gear into her. So if I stuck with Ghost, that leaves me with Kree. Now, my Minerva is, Violet Veil's, of course, is a Kree. Great on the Infinity Watch team. Still a very useful team. Definitely do not underrate them. Then I have Minerva. Well, she's a couple levels away. Captain Marvel, decent character enough. But do I really want to take my focus off a Horseman to work on Captain Marvel to level 85, Gear 16? Probably not. And it's only 4 characters. I didn't have to pick a 5th character, which would probably be Yellow Jacket. Out of that Pimtech team, well, you saw where my Yellow Jacket was. It wasn't great. There he is, sitting at level 60. I never needed him any higher. Do you really think I'm going to take the time to level him up to 85 in Gear 16? Unless they get some kind of major rework, I don't really see the value. I don't really have the time to do this. I'm too busy working on Apocalypse. So this might end up being a big problem for me and my alliance if I get stuck on that team. Now, of course, the other lane being Wakanda, that's not a big deal for most people, even for me. Saying I need to take these to Gear 16, well, it's not too big of a jump. I already have 2 of them at Gear 16, so take another 3, probably the War Dogs in this case, to Gear 16. Wouldn't be as much, but even to go from level 80 to 85 to get them up to Gear 16 is still a couple million gold each. That's still over 6 million gold, and you know, that's a few days for me. This is roughly 2 days per character. This is almost a week's worth of leveling characters with the way I level characters, just to get them up to Gear 16 for this shitty-ass raid. And it only comes around every 6 weeks. Roughly. So that's what that lane looks. Now, of course, Avengers, nobody's going to probably have problems with the Avenger tag one. Because, my god, is it loaded. Young Avengers, Bionic Avengers. You got parts of the Rebirth in here. I mean, there's tons in here. Plus, those are the very early nodes. Plus, you have Black Panther, Wakandan. I don't see any problems there. Now, you also have AIM. That's another one. Are you going to level any of these characters to Gear 16 for AIM? Okay, fine. You don't need to use AIM. We can use SHIELD, I believe is the other one, if I remember correctly, off the top of my head, without looking. What do we have for SHIELD? Well, thankfully, Captain America's got a rework, and we always had Maria Hill back with the Secret Avengers, so right there's 2 of our characters that we need. Now we're kind of stuck again. Now who do we go for? Do we go Nick Fury, the worst skill legendary in the game? I mean, maybe we can do a Yo-Yo. Maybe if Black Widow ever got a rework, that would be something. But would you really feel good about taking any of these 3 to Gear 16? Because I don't think you're taking any of these guys, except for maybe Hawkeye. People seem to love Hawkeye all of a sudden, even though he's not needed. That'll probably be another video, which I was planning on making. Okay, let's just say you get past those ones, you skimp by. Well, now you got Brotherhood you can add to it, which isn't too bad, actually, that we got Brotherhood. Most people are going to have Magneto up to Gear 16, and you can also bring in Sabretooth as a replacement as well, which can also work. Okay, great, you got past that. Well, now you're on to the Hydra Merc Heroes for Hire. Well, unless you really went heavy on war defense, or you've been doing these nodes before, the only Heroes for Hire like me is going to be Shang-Chi. Other than that, you're not going to have anything. The other one is Defenders. This is another one where, unless you've been investing high in Daredevil and Jessica Jones, you're not going to have much. So that leaves us with Hydra. And the only one I can think of here is Zemo that you might have. And of course, we have Winter Soldier. So, Shang-Chi, Winter Soldier, Zemo is a start of something. Maybe like a Jessica Jones, and then who knows? At that point, who knows? Because I'm not taking any of these minions up. And I ain't bringing up Red Skull. So that's done. The other side, you have the Mercs instead of Hydra. Now, Mercs is an interesting one. There are several good characters in that you could bring up Taskmaster. He's a good character. Killmonger, having double value as a Wakandan, would be a good choice. You might have brought up Merc Riot Guard and Merc Lieutenant, so you might have a little bit more leeway if you ever bothered to build these characters. I haven't. I don't have a use for them. They're not getting built. Why? Because I'm too busy building for Apocalypse. And of course, the last one, of course, would be the Spider-Verse tag. We're not even going to talk about Guardians. I mean, Guardians, technically, you get Gamora. You can add in there. But the Spider-Verse tag, again, we could go back to the Web Warriors. The nice thing about the Spider-Verse tag, though, is now we can bring in Weaver. We can bring in 2099. We can make a big hodgepodge. We have Kingpin. We have Doc Ock. Mr. Negative. There are some newer characters here that we could probably put something together and get through. But most of the stuff, unless they update these tags, unless they update these teams, most people aren't going to want to build them. Pretty much, unless you already have them built, you don't really want to build them. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Our Alliance is going to push players to build them. Are the players going to just fold and say, okay, I'll build them, and possibly cost themselves progression towards Apocalypse, whatever the next legendary is, or whatever, and hurt themselves that way by wasting resources? Or are we going to use up all our resources and try to do both after we had gold spending events? And they took away gold orbs and gold for a whole month. You can see, this is a big fuck you. We haven't even gotten into the talk about getting the teal gear and how this affects newer players too. Of course, Doom, the new difficulty 5 is really meant for endgame players who have plenty of teal gear, and teal gear has gotten a lot more attainable, so it shouldn't be an issue, as big of an issue to get the teal gear, except they never bothered to update the Catalyst Challenge to actually include teal Catalyst. Get fucked, Commanders. As always, get fucked. Until next time, everybody.